Hello and welcome to What We're Watching. It's Catherine.
And Liz.
And John.
So here we go.
It's just the three of us today, by the way.
That is true. Just the three of us?
Yeah, no guests, no Ed.
Well, that does happen occasionally.
Right. But I think we have enough to talk about.
Oh my gosh. I had to go through my list and figure out what I wanted to save for later.
Yeah.
I know. Well, anyway. Okay. So first up, I'm going to bring up Treason. Who else is watching Treason on Netflix?
I am.
Oh.
No.
What? John, get on it. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Eric and I really love a psychological spy thriller thing because we were watching something else.
Right.
I'll give a quick little, not shout out, but Lady Chatterley's Lover. He was very excited to watch it.
Okay.
And 10, maybe 20 minutes in, we were like, this is not for us.
He loves a period piece and a costume drama, but in the end, it's a specific slice of those things.
Yeah, he does a lot of backstabbing and intrigue. And this was just a slow burn it took a while. We were like, when are we going to get to the hot and heavy? Never? Okay, we're out.
So it sort of starts off with a bit of espionage and poisoning. So then the power structure in MI6 has to change. And that's when our lead male sort of has to take on this role, but he's immediately compromised, basically.
Well, right. I mean, spoiler, but apparently he didn't realize that he'd been compromised for a long time.
Right.
Which was interesting.
So the lead is played by Charlie Cox, who some of you may know from Daredevil.
Yeah, I watched Daredevil, so I knew
he did such a good job with that character. You might have thought he was blind, but he is not.
He is not.
No.
That's true.
Yeah. And this is one I'm just watching with Mark. There have been a couple things where I've been like, what are they doing? Why are they making this decision? The Weiss character is kind of infuriating me with some of the decisions she's making or made.
It's not perfect what she's up to.
I don't like... I mean, you obviously have to do is to generate different storylines, but there are things that she's doing. You're like, just talk to your husband. Or the idea, he's the interim lead of MI6 right now, right?
Right. He's filling in.
And her why can't you talk to me? Why can't you tell me what's going on with your job? Hello!
I work for a spy agency.
It's literally
They're
like
secrets.
the head of the FBI or the CIA.
Yeah,
Stop asking. Literally stop asking him. It was infuriating at a certain point. Why are you keeping secrets from me? Because it's its job. I mean, it'd be things like that. And then she was undermining him at certain points. So I will say I watched it, but I got frustrated and furious at moments with some of the characters' choices.
Sure.
They were fucking dumbasses at some points. I mean, it was and I just almost felt like so many of the elements were so right, but some of the writing was
not perfect.
Not perfect.
Well,
a little too rushed, maybe.
Yeah, watching with Eric, our big things were when people would slip away from their security detail. It's like,
for the love of God.
He's the head of MI6, and apparently he can just slip out any old time. It's like, there's no way. His predecessor had been poisoned. They would have been on him like glue. There's no way.
Yeah, and here's the deal. I understand the trope of a bitchy teenage girl. I mean, it is so easy as a writer to fall for that. Hi, can I give a nose to all of you? Do the opposite. Surprise us, dazzle us with an actually accommodating, charming teenage daughter. Spoiler alert, not some jerk who's going to now compromise the entire country. Because you know what? I don't want security. I'm going to come by myself and get kidnapped immediately. I was ready to kill her myself.
Yeah.
I said, keep her. You know what? Keep her. She's a pain in the ass. Keep her.
My whole thing is when they got her back, they weren't even mad at her. What are you doing?
I would kill her. I don't mean, that's what I'm saying. There was moments like that. It's was a frustrating, fun watch, but there were really moments that I would pause it and Mark and I would have to vent our frustrations for a 2-minute rant and be like, all right, we can get back into it.
John and I were talking about this earlier. Eric and I did a lot of pausing and talking during the show, spinning theories and commenting and saying this is ridiculous or that is ridiculous. But it was still incredibly enjoyable. I really liked it.
And I love it when I spin out a theory that I think is even more interesting and better, and yet they don't go down that path. And this happened a lot with this show.
Wait, this thing is only 5 episodes?
Oh, yeah, it was a quick watch.
It shouldn't have been any more than that. I mean, it really, it probably would have been better, but you binge watched it because it was so short. It would have been better just as a movie. They probably could have tightened up the story making, the editing, all of it, an hour and a half, hour, 90-minute streaming type of situation.
Well, they didn't. So.
No. So I would give it a medium recommendation, but if you like the espionage, British spy world genre,
Which we do, yeah.
sure, then it's for you. But know that you're going to get frustrated because these characters are flawed. They're humans. They make mistakes. They make bad choices. And they really do.
Yeah. I do want to call out Ona Chaplin. Did you know that she's the granddaughter of Charlie Chaplin?
No.
Yeah, she plays the wife. I've seen her in other things, but it always is the first thing that comes to mind. What,
First
John?
thing isn't Game of Thrones?
No, but Eric did say that. He was like, wasn't she in the Red Wedding, Game of Thrones? I'm like, yes, she was. But did you know? And then I threw out my Charlie Chaplin fact, which, did blow his mind. So,
But I
vindicated.
will say, I gave it to her because some of the writing and some of the choices that she had to make this character were so implausible that she did a good job with them.
She did. She made it seem like it was a real
she would
thing.
make
Yeah.
these choices. You're like, wow, okay. You're going to need marriage counseling after this. Wow.
I have one other little persnickety thing. What did you think about her hair? How long was that hair? Did you notice? Her hair was so long, I was distracted by it. I was like, in Game of Thrones, perfectly acceptable to have hair down literally to your butt. I mean, it was so long. I was like, not even mid-back, super long. I was like, what? Who would have this level of long hair? No one. It seems crazy.
I did notice, and I think that was a fourth episode, and I did pause and say to Mark, I go, does she have really long hair?
Super long.
Because it just was, as a mother, as a parent, like wash and go. She also works herself. She has
She
a back.
did? What was her?
Well,
Oh, yeah,
she's-
she was retired or had left.
Well, yeah, because she has a military background herself.
Correct. I
Which is
forgot about
usually
that.
short hair. So maybe she was rebelling and decided to really grow it out.
That could be part of the character story arc that I was not totally getting.
Right.
That's part of, interesting.
Yeah,
Good take.
so
Good
I
take.
did notice that and thought that must be her own hair and something she's digging into. And another piece of advice, unwarranted and unasked for. But I would say, as your next character role, cut it, mix it up, because sometimes it's like, then I see you too much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
It's
all.
too distinctive.
Right.
The creator and partial writer of some of these, Matt Sharman, or Charman, I don't know, but he wrote Bridge of Spies.
Did he?
So this is his wheelhouse.
He likes this genre.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's only got a couple other things that he has fully done or whatever, but yeah, they're all kind of spy war. I forgot he did win the Academy Award for Bridge of Spies.
Ooh, nice.
And you need to be careful of your ex-lovers, what they know about you, what they're going to hold over you.
Exactly.
Especially if there was a spy. There is no loyalty in the spy world.
No, of course. So the spy that we're talking about, Eric did point out almost immediately that she was in one of the James Bond movies.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, really? So we, of course, looked it up and he was right.
Olga Kurylenko.
I was going to try and say it and then I was like,
Good for
maybe
you,
I
John.
won't. Yeah, that was good.
She's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, she's big. Yeah.
She was in Oblivion.
Oh, well, she's gorgeous. She does a great job.
Yep.
She's very believable as a manipulative spy lady, I thought.
That's what I was trying to say. The acting was good. I mean, the cinematography's, the whole backdrop of Britain and the MI6 and all that.
It looked great. Yeah.
It looked great.
Oh, she also, if you saw Black Widow, it wasn't revealed till the end, but she was the one in the suit.
Oh, right.
That could mimic all her moves, but was fully had been ruined by her father and other things.
Really? Okay.
I'd forgotten that. I love that movie. All right, so I think that, like I said, a medium recommendation, but if you like spy stuff, it's a very quick watch. It's 5 episodes.
Yeah, I thought particularly because it's so digestible.
Yes.
5 episodes, it was definitely worth it.
But be prepared to be frustrated occasionally.
A little bit. But now with the warning, maybe you won't worry so much
Yes.
about it. Anyway, okay. So also on my recently watched list, this is another spy thing that I watched with Eric and John, Slow Horses on Apple TV. Is it season 2, John? That's a little bit confusing, but that's what it is, right?
Yeah, it was season 2. There's nothing confusing
Well,
about
I thought
it.
they did some weird thing where it's like they did 1 and 2 as 3 episodes each and released that in the and no.
You're definitely getting all of that wrong. So they filmed season 1 and 2 at the same time.
Oh,
They were each 6 episodes. So then they got released as season 1, first 6 episodes, and then season 2, another 6 episodes.
got it. Okay, that was mildly confusing for me apparently. But now they definitely have already started on season 3 because at the end of this season 2 there was like a tease for this next season. So I don't know when we're getting that. But anyway, so Slow Horses, we've talked about season 1. 1 multiple episodes ago, but it's Gary Oldman as like a real curmudgeon-y, kind of greasy, gross spy who's in, I don't know, what would you say, John? Like out of favor. He's not in the in crowd of the spies. So he's in a place called Slough House, which is like the headquarters for all the people who have done bad jobs. They're called slow horses because they are not the race horses. They're the slow horses. They're kind of crappy.
Well, and somehow that's Slough House almost gets to slow horses. I mean,
we're not sure.
We're not English. We don't have English accents. We don't know how it works.
That's true. But I currently am now listening to the rather lengthy audiobook series. So I may have more details later about what all of this means.
You
the
were
slow
very
horses.
excited
I
to
was.
listen to them, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm already on track with that. But Gary Oldman, amazing, really very much needs a shower. He is so grubby and like gross. The story this time around, I thought was really good. John, what was your...
I'm as if the first season wasn't. No, it was great. I mean, it's interesting because, it's a spy thing, so there's a lot of twists and turns. And there are mistakes that happen.
Yeah.
And it's good how that's still a part of it. Because you're like, well, wait a minute. These are the All-Stars now. And you're like, well, maybe not the All-Stars.
Yeah, because in the first season, they somewhat redeemed themselves and kind of did a good job. And then you think, oh, well, season 2, maybe they're out of the doghouse. No, they're still considered losers. And
okay.
Yeah, so one of the main characters, played by Jack Loudon, River Cartwright. So he is great. And this season, he is also great. And he gets into some real confusing situations, which is great.
Yes, it's one of those, it's like, it's not exactly his fault that he ends up in these weird situations that are maybe not perfect.
Yeah,
but you're like, well, you did it. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe someone better wouldn't have.
Yeah, it feels like he has good instincts, but things kind of are so much more complicated than anyone realizes that, like, how could you possibly have figured that out? So, he's like on the sort of right track, then he's on the wrong track, then he figures something else out and no one ever believes him. And, it's kind of one of those things.
That's the whole fun of the series is you have this team of not all-stars and then they get thrown into like, oh, this very serious, complicated situation. Oh, maybe they're going to figure it out maybe eventually.
Yeah. Or maybe not. Or maybe it's going to go badly for some of them.
One fact I do like about that actor that you just mentioned, Jack Loudon.
Is it Loudon or Loudon? I said Loudon, but go.
Jack Loudon. He has been in a long-term relationship with the Irish actress Saoirse Ronan.
Really? I did not know that.
I'm like, so he has good taste.
Well, they were both in Mary Queen of Scots.
That's where they met, John. More gossip. Okay.
Oh, John is on it with the info. So the other call out in the cast is Kristen Scott Thomas, who plays, I guess it's second desk is what it is. So she's not actually in charge of MI5 or what agency is it? MI6?
I believe it's MI6, yes. And yes.
I don't know how many there are.
Oh, we're totally wrong. It's MI5. So yeah, she's second desk, which means, yes, she's not the overall in charge, but then she's like somewhat in charge of operations. She ends up being like the point person.
Yeah.
So,
and she's definitely scheming and plotting to actually be in charge of everything. So we'll see how that all works out for her maybe in future seasons. Anyway, I really love Slow Horses and totally recommend it. The rest of the cast, particularly the Slow Horses in the team in Slough House, are fantastic. They're very enjoyable for all of their faults and foibles. They're really good.
And did you know what Slow Horses means?
Well, what?
Basically, you've been removed from active ops for one mistake or another. Like, you're slow.
Oh, yeah. Well, that is definitely what it is.
Like, you won't be fired. They're still going to use you. So,
Yeah, and they slowly have rolled out the backstory on most of these, and you're like, wait, what did you do? Oh, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, that was a bad mess up. Whoopsie. Yeah, I wonder if it's also kind of like, well, we're not going to fire you and make a big deal out of it, but we're going to put you in this like really sad situation. Maybe you'll leave. Maybe we don't want you, and we just are hoping you'll disappear. Yeah, that whole group in Slough House, the Slow Horses, are a real mishmash of mistakes and very fun. So on to It's Not a Spy Thing. I did finally get around to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Same here.
Oh, really? Okay, great. I don't know why it took me. I mean, well, I do know why. because I don't go to the theater. So that's why it took
John,
me
you
so
saw
long.
this in a movie theater, didn't you?
I did not.
Really?
Whoa. Okay. So,
all
Catherine,
right.
where did you watch it?
So I was flipping around and we get Showtime. So I came across
Who fancy you?
Yeah, I know, obviously. And I caught it like in the middle. That's usually how I figure out that a movie is now available on HBO or Showtime, that I just stumble across it while flipping channels.
Yep.
So
Kind of the same thing. I set it up to record.
that's what I did. So instead of watching it from the middle, which seemed like a bad idea, which sometimes I
For
do.
sure would have been.
So I just hit the like more info and then record the next time it airs or the on-demand version or whatever and then come back to it. So yeah, oh my gosh.
Well, there have been rave reviews about this movie.
Yes, and there's obviously still a lot of buzz because of nominations, so good for everybody.
Michelle Yeoh, who is the lead actress in it, plays Evelyn.
Oh, she's amazing.
She deserves it for sure. Because it's a very interesting movie with like interdimensional crossing timelines, different versions of yourself.
Sure.
And really it's an overall story that happens in a lot of movies, which is like, if you had made a different choice, where would your life go?
Sure.
And the ripple effect that would cause. So basically, a lot of characters in the movie are playing multiple characters.
Yes, multiple versions of themselves, which is super fun. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis's different versions of herself. That was very fun.
She is having a Jamie renaissance. I mean, it's like, between her Halloween movies and this, and she was fabulous in this, as sort of a IRS worker.
Yeah. Oh God, that was so great.
Deidre was her name.
Her whole styling of just like could give two fucks outfit of like,
Yeah, and I mean, she looked awful in it. And it takes you a minute to sort of dive into the pace of the movie because it's sort of frenetic and fast and depressing.
Yeah.
Because the world
Interesting.
of Evelyn and her family, which is makes up of her husband, and God love him, he was back. If you watched
Goonies, isn't he from Goonies?
Well, Goonies and Indiana Jones.
Oh, right. Okay.
Waymond, which is not Raymond, Waymond.
With a W. Mm-hmm.
Right. Ki-Hu Kwan is his name, and he was in Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom, and
Sure.
he was freaking awesome in it, and then Goonies. And then he's like one of those childhood actors that kind of disappeared for the most part off the radar and has come back in a very big way.
Well, this
And-
really worked out for him.
he was
I mean,
fantastic. So he plays sort of the wayward husband of Evelyn who just can't get his shit together.
yeah.
And
very
she's
good-natured, but
Yeah.
sort of like not very competent.
and they live above their coin-operated laundromat, which is just,
Which is basically about to fall apart. I mean,
everything's about to fall
both
apart.
physically and money-wise. It is not
Money-wise-
doing well.
Dimensionally, is it safe?
There are multiple levels about to fall apart in their world, yes. But the actors and the daughter, Jobu,
Played by Stephanie Hoos.
she's incredible. And then, honestly, James Hung, who has been,
Around forever, yeah.
he's 93 years old. God bless them for casting him.
He was great.
And he's been, Kung Fu Panda, Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. But he was fantastic in it. So, like I said, it goes back to this interdimensional world that is somewhat collapsing upon itself. And Evelyn is going to be the one in her current universe that might be able to save it and set it right, because one of the characters is decided to go into all these universes and destroy
basically push the collapse. Yeah, it's a great premise. It's really interesting. It's very visual and fast.
Oh my God, there's a thing that happens sort of with fingers.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
You think of a Costco hot dog.
Yeah.
That's about the equivalent at the end of your hand.
I mean, and
that
just
whole sequence.
that whole sequence and that relationship in that world is great too. I mean, no, I don't even want to get into it, but it was delightful. I also want to call out Jenny Slate, who is one of my favorites. Not a cameo. It was just a small part, but more than a cameo. Great to see her. Love her. She's fantastic.
I thought Harry Shum Jr., he was a dancer on I think You Can Dance, or he might have been on Glee. He was definitely on Glee.
Oh, he was on Glee, yeah.
He was fantastic. And that whole scene with the Rakankuni or whatever on top of his head, which was a play on Ratatouille.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Crazy. But ultimately, it is a story of the love of a family. Mm-hmm. And even though you've made the choices that you've made that has put you in your current life, would you change them? And usually the answer is no, because it would have an effect. So when it kind of crescendos up at the end, and that really is kind of that, and it's really the pivotal moment between Evelyn and the daughter, Jobu, that really got me. And so I started to cry.
Yeah, me too.
I look over at my son, and he looks at me, and he's a teenager, but he starts totally crying.
Oh, that's sweet.
And then Mark goes, oh my gosh, you got us all. But it was like, and you kind of didn't expect that to happen because it was so, like I said, frenetic and action and so much going on.
Well, it really is being sold and feels like an action movie, but it has such a heart to it.
Yeah. So I could not recommend it more.
Well, obviously, so good. And we're not alone in thinking that, nominations, everything, everywhere, all at once, all of those deserved. And hopefully lots and lots of big wins because it deserves it.
Agree.
Really, performance-wise and just unique story and looked amazing. Good for them. Everything, everywhere, all at once. A little hard for me to say, but I got it that time. Okay. Hopefully I got it correct every time, but maybe not. I don't know.
Every time.
Not every time.
But most of the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Last for me, I watched a movie called The Swimmers. I don't know if anybody has seen this. It's on Netflix and it's based on a true story about two Syrian sisters who make their way from Syria. They're refugees, so they leave Syria during the big uprising and make it, it's a harrowing story of trying to get to Greece and then eventually ending up in Germany.
Wow.
And they had been swimmers in their native country. Their dad was their coach. And one of them in particular was very focused on swimming, and the younger one, I believe. Once they end up in Germany, she wants to go to the Rio Olympics. So she starts to train with a German coach named Sven, who is played by Mathis Sweifinger. I mean, hopefully that's right. He plays the coach, and he's delightful. I love him. He was in Thieves. What is it, John?
Well, he was in Army of the Dead, but what you really liked was Army of Thieves.
There you go. Army of Thieves. Loved him in Army of Thieves. And you're right. I did try and go back and watch Army of the Dead, and there was not enough of him, so I was not into it. But
you went the opposite way because they came out in the opposite order. But apparently, we get to look forward to him in a Milli Vanilli.
What?
Biopic doc
that's
thing.
Coming out?
Yes.
Okay, that's crazy.
Long overdue, actually.
Back to the movie. It is a great story. These two sisters are really amazing. And then the actresses who are playing these two sisters are in real life sisters. So I found it very moving and interesting and educational. So if you don't remember a lot of the Syrian refugees and, just tragically so many trying to cross the ocean and drowning and it was horrific. These two women being swimmers, one of the things that saved their boat is the two of them got out and swam alongside the boat, like holding onto a rope or tied to a rope so that they wouldn't get lost in the water, so that they would allow the boat to,
stay buoyant from weight.
Yeah, because they felt like they had already thrown off everything that they could, and then the two of them ended up swimming alongside. So, a huge hero journey story. And then this is a spoiler, but it's based on true events. The younger sister does end up going to the Rio Olympics and swimming.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Really, it was an amazing story. I don't remember hearing about it at the time, but yeah, really, really good. So I totally cried while watching it. It was pretty amazing.
I love
it. The classic Catherine, me on my treadmill, watching a movie and just crying. Okay, well, whatever.
I do love that it stars two sisters playing two sisters.
They were very, very good. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. So anyway, that's sort of an overview for me of what's been going on. So Liz, we already got a bunch from you, but what else you got?
Crossover. One of the ones I want to talk about is, listen, it's a global phenomenon.
A global phenomenon?
Yes. RRR on Netflix. So,
ooh, RRR. I don't know it. What does RRR stand for?
Yes, it actually does stand for something.
Oh, okay. I mean, I assumed.
I did not know that at first either. And then you realize RRR, it stands for Rise, Roar, Revolt. So it's basically a movie in 3 acts, about an hour each. So that's why it's 3 hours long.
Yikes. Okay. Big commitment.
My son, Ethan, I think I'd seen, when you just queue up to Netflix, sometimes a trailer will play for something that's obviously popular. And it was like the craziest trailer of a man like running through a jungle being chased by a tiger.
What?
And then he kind of gets out of the way of the tiger, and then the tiger gets taken out by, gosh, was it a bear? I mean, like, it's insane. So
Yeah, and it's not even a trailer. It's like a scene. And,
Yeah.
You know, it led me to not watch it.
But he's like in a loincloth, and you're just like, what is happening? So I did not watch it. I was sitting there, and a trailer came up again. It was very different. And actually, I'll bring that up in maybe another episode, how I sometimes think certain trailers that Netflix plays does not necessarily capture the audience or just the scene. And other ones will be like, oh, I do want to watch this.
Yeah,
now.
I'm in. Mm-hmm.
So it came on, and Ethan goes, Mom, we got to watch this. I've heard great things about it. Like, we got to watch it.
Really? Oh, okay.
And I'm like, what? Okay, fine. And Mark was out that night. We started, I'm like, it's 3.5 hours long. So
And now, did you do this with subtitles, with the dub?
Oh my gosh, subtitles and dubs. Like, we did it all because it's in the Indian language, Telugu, and it's a Tollywood film. Obviously, a lot of people know about Bollywood, right? Mm-hmm. This is Tollywood, which is a different language, and it literally is the most expensive Indian film ever made, but it's on track to be the most successful one ever. It is so batshit crazy. It is like a feast for the eyes. It homages like tons of like, there are moments like, oh, that's Quentin Tarantino. Oh, that's Spielberg. Oh, that's like George Lucas. I mean, there are so many homages to great films. And the cheese level is so high.
The cheese level. Oh,
but
okay.
at the same time.
Wait, what kind of cheeses?
I don't know. But I will say the commitment level, the production level is so crazy that you just fall in love. It is a feast for the eyes.
Oh, okay.
Led by the two main cast members who really are superstars. I mean, they are like, I don't know, it was quadruple threats because this is like a Bollywood. Tollywood, it's singing and dancing mixed with like the highest height of a story because it takes place in like the 1920s when India is being occupied basically by the British rule. And how, I don't want to spoil it for anybody because I really can recommend this. So both from maybe the inside of a British regime that is very, you don't want to say evil, but, you know, is very cruel to the natives. Right. Mm-hmm. So you have, it all starts off when a native girl is kidnapped by this British administrator, they called him, but he's like a captain, and taken into the castle there. So you have the local native hero saying he's going to now go get his sister back for the family and for basically his tribe. Now there is also someone, they have Indian soldiers who are also with the British soldiers. Now we don't know this one guy's backstory, but there is an opening scene where he basically fights off like 10,000 people. Like, I mean, you were just like, how is this possible? But it's so amazing. So he has a backstory too, but those two, it's like they come together because these are based on, I guess, some aspects of it, real folklore, fairy tales of Indian storytelling. Mm-hmm. But the writer interwove the two characters together. It is so berserk. I mean, so the two leads are first, both of them gorgeous. Like, you just got to like pick which one you like better because they're just gorgeous, singing, dancing, acting, doing physical,
action sequences. Yeah.
I mean, the fighting sequences are absurd, and they'll slow stuff down and speed it up for sure. That you're like, how is this possible? And I'm sure there is definitely CGI, but there is tons of extras and the sets are real. Now, there's a whole scene that goes batshit crazy when they let a bunch of animals out. I don't think that was real. It looked really good. So the lead two actors, one is N.T. Rama Roy Jr. and the other one is Ram Charan. I mean, they're so great.
Okay.
And they're physically two different types. Like the one that plays a British soldier has a more refinement of him. But I mean, and that's the character. And, you know, they are arch enemies, but they don't know it. So they become best friends. I mean, there is a sequence where they become like best friends with like a horse. And like, it is I mean, Ethan and I would like belly laugh out loud, like, is this for real? Then there is a dance number because they get invited to the palace, basically, and then they stick out, and of course there has to be a bully, and then they have to turn the whole thing around. The freaking, like, it seemed like a 20-minute dance number for Nacho. They used everything that was around them to like create the musical band number along with their suspenders, and I mean, the aerobic workout was insane. So that alone. So Mark came in because we had to watch it in chunks. I mean, it is 3 hours. So just either you're going to sit down, fully commit yourself, or break it into chunks. Mm-hmm. So we were about an hour and a half into it, like halfway through. And I think somewhere in this, the big dance number comes in, and we're like laughing, just like, I mean, there's so much craziness in it. I mean, and they also like, how did you go from there to there? How did you jump from the top of the building to the bottom of the building? We're not going to figure that out. I mean, the director just must have had a heyday. And I guess it took a few years for them to film because of COVID. And
sure.
So even the continuity to figure that out, just the ongoing, keeping up the energy over a couple of years to film this must have been insane. But my husband, Mark, came home during, I think, this large nacho, like dance number, like does not stop. And they for sure had to speed it up because I don't think any human being could move this fast at certain points.
For that long.
But maybe. He's like, what are you watching? And we're like, we can't go back. You can either
merge in or forget it.
Merge watch, just blend in with the lane, and you'll kind of catch on, or just get out because it's like this is so
Move
absurd.
On. Yeah, forget
so
it. Mm-hmm.
I'll just say it's a feast for the eyes. I mean, believe me, some of probably the politics of it and the British
colonialism. Yeah,
I'm sure there are elements of it. I can't speak to how accurate or inaccurate it is, but the suppression of the Indian people is horrible, and with it to overcome, it is beautifully done. Of course, they make the British, the captain of this particular outpost just as evil as you possibly can get, but he gets his comeuppance, so don't worry, people. And his wife, wow, Cruella de Vil. I mean,
really?
Yeah. So
Real
there's
baddie.
just really fun elements of it. I like I said, I can't even tell you. There's just such batshit crazy scenes in it that I do not know how they did some of them. I don't know how some of the physicality these two lead actors have to pull off. There's a whole fight scene where one of them's carrying the other one on his shoulders for like a significant amount of time, like for a long time.
That's perfectly possible to do. I don't know what your problem is.
As I'm saying, so I could not recommend it more. The nominations that will come to them probably for multiple categories. But you know what? I don't know how that works. Maybe just foreign film, because I don't think it was ever released here in a theater here in the United States. It was just on Netflix. I think it's one of the most watched Indian films ever in Netflix standards. I mean, the visual effects, all of it, production design, the acting, the choreography. I mean, kudos. Didn't even know Tollywood. Bring on
now
more.
It's on your radar.
Bring on more. Could not have been more enjoyable. And those two lead actors, babes.
Nice. Okay.
Very good looking. I mean, I was like, a couple of scenes, you're like, nice. You guys are in nice shape. I mean, I just like
it's from all that dancing.
I just don't even know how they did it. There was so much going on. I just say take it in chunks because it's literally overwhelming at moments. So, RRR film on Netflix.
All right.
So that was one of my big digestibles. And then I also, another man-focused show.
Oh, really?
Now,
What?
my girlfriend, Lainey, who sometimes, she watches a lot of TV, and I can trust her usually. And actually, she didn't steer me wrong on this one either.
Oh, okay, good. I thought that was going to go a different direction.
I know. I led you down a path that I did not drop you off. I steered off. Welcome to Chippendales. On Hulu.
Mm-hmm. That has been on my list. I'm annoyed that I haven't gotten to it.
And now my husband has walked in twice and been like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Get out."
Well, first of all, can I just say I'm a huge fan of Kamal Nanjiani, so that's why it's on my radar.
He basically plays Steve, who so it's basically
It's a crazy story.
It is the story of Chippendales. And those of you that don't know what Chippendales is, it was a male review, not entirely stripping.
It's kind of like the precursor to Magic Mike.
Yeah, they never went completely naked, but it was a male cabaret dance review for women. And so it's a story of an Indian immigrant. Oh, an Indian again.
There you go.
Steve Banerjee. And he comes to the United States to find his fortune. And he works in a gas station and he saves up every dime. And he wants to open a backgammon club.
Oh, okay.
And really a very fancy, nice one in like Hollywood. And it does not take off. But who walks in one night? And this is this was like, what? Basically, who walks into the Dead nightclub is Dorothy Stratton and Paul Snider. Now, those that don't know, she was a Playboy Playmate of the Year, stunningly gorgeous, had a huge, bright future in her sights, but her very jealous husband, I think at this point, when she asked for a divorce, ended up killing her and himself.
What? Oh my God,
Star
I remember
80,
this.
that movie, there's a movie called Star 80 that was in 1983, starred Eric Roberts and Muriel Hemingway.
Ooh, I kind of remember it now.
Incredible movie, very disturbing. I mean, because of... Unfortunately, she lost her life.
And that character, Paul, is played by Dan Stevens?
Yeah.
Oh, I love him.
Somewhat unrecognizable because he does not have sparkling blue eyes. And I mean, he did such a good job the first episode that
really
I
good, yeah.
literally had to look up. I'm like, I think that's Downton Abbey dude. Like, I was like, wait a minute. And I had to go look and I was like, good for him. What were you going to say, John?
I was going to say, well, how was the actress portraying her? Nicola Peltz, Brooklyn Beckham's wife.
Yeah, she was great. They show what happens to them as well.
Terrible.
It broke your heart. She was great too. But they walk into Steve's backgammon club and it's failing. They join forces. Paul's going to be a club promoter, kind of just a failed. They really portray him as a loser. He doesn't do a good job, but through that relationship and a couple moments of epiphany, the idea of a male cabaret show comes about. And they end up screwing over Paul to get him out. And, that's probably all of it played into the demise of those two characters. So they're only the first couple episodes, but it's a very interesting beginning. And Steve really has very low moral compass of what he will do to be successful because, he wants so much to be successful financially. He will almost do anything. So they have the show going, but it's sort of like very, kind of a shit show, but women still are loving it. So Nick DeNoia comes in, played by one of my favorites. Man, did this dude's like come out of nowhere? Murray Bartlett.
Oh, so excited for him. He's so great.
Because White Lotus first season killed it, won an Emmy for it.
Killed it. No pun intended. Sorry, go on.
So some of my favorite actresses, also Annalee Ashford. I actually saw her on Broadway in a show.
Oh.
She plays Irene, who ends up being Steve's wife, and Juliette Lewis.
Oh, she's so
always
great.
gives 110 fucking % as Denise. I mean, just got it in it. Like Juliette
side
Lewis.
Note, can't wait for Yellow Jackets season 2 to come back. But yeah, go on.
Just excellent casting. So really, it's about the battle that goes on between Steve and Nick DeNoia because Nick brings in the performance show element and truly turns it into it. But I will give credit to Dorothy Stratton because it was her idea based on the Playboy Playmate outfits that they wear in the clubs.
Oh, really?
That she said, why don't you do a version of that with the guys where they wear bow ties and cuffs and the black pants?
Oh my gosh, how genius. Wow.
Yeah, so it was her genius idea, sort of the look that still exists today, the iconic look of the Chippendales.
Iconic, Mm-hmm.
So Nick DeNoia and then Denise, Juliette Lewis. She's a costumer, man, and she is the one that we all can thank for rip away stripper pants.
Oh my God, hysterical.
So there's just so many great moments. But also, another one of my favorites, Andrew Rannells.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. So there's just great acting. The story of it is berserk. And it's really the epic battle between Steve and Nick because Nick feels like he is Mr. Chippendales because he created what is the show, what is the overall look. He put together the entire New York club, which was, I guess, very well received, almost on a star level, going like a real scene. And Steve, who stayed back in Hollywood, although, yes, it was his original idea with Paul Snider, he feels he's Mr. Chippendales because it's his money and his backing and basically the boiling, seething jealousy and rage that takes over that. And there's just moments that if they got out of both of their way of their egos, it would have been fine. but they both just were such huge personalities in their own maniacal ways. It all goes very badly in the end, you know. But it is the root of like Thunder Down Under, or as you said,
Magic Mike stuff, yeah.
Well, I mean, and you know, our man Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley, right?
Oh, well, they reference that as well. I mean, just it becomes such a global phenomenon, and it talks about, you know, in some ways it was like women empowerment because men were not allowed in the club while the show was going on.
Oh.
And I mean, there are some scenes, I was too young, but backstage, like it was like no rules. So the cocaine and sex was out of control.
Wow.
So then over time, things change and it evolves, but it was so enjoyable. So I mean, it is, you know, adult in the sense that, you know, it is Chippendales, but
so it's called Welcome to Chippendales, and it's on Hulu, right?
Yes. And Kamal does such a good job.
He's so good.
He does
I love
such
him.
a good job because your heart breaks for him because, you know, he has worked so hard to put this together. And when it starts to fall apart and he can't get out of his own way, you're like, stop. And his wife, Annalie, or Irene, really does try to pull him back. That's the main story. You're not really following in the storylines. There's only one of the dancers in the beginning that you sort of follow, Otis, that you sort of follow a little bit of his story or storyline with him. It's not so much about the dancers. It's really about who created Chippendales and the battle that ensued over that to kind of have ownership of it.
Wow.
But welcome to Chippendales.
Yeah, I'm super intrigued. I got to get on it.
The acting's so well done, and it's obviously like a period piece because it takes place in like, you know, late 70s into the 80s. It's just so good. It's just, like I said, thank you, Lainey Ziff, for being like, you're not watching it? Oh, like...
Get on it immediately. Maybe that'll be my next treadmill show.
Yeah, because you hear it and you think like, oh, this is going to be about, you know, this is going to be about Chippendales and the dancers. And it's not really. It's about an American dream going like kind of wrong. Because should have gone right. But like there were like Dorothy and Paul and even Steve and Nick in the end. It's like there was some real tragedy related to it.
Wow, cool. All right. Definitely on my list. Okay, John, what's up with you?
Oh boy. Well, I did a little bit of catch up with some stuff that I missed in the theater.
Oh,
So first of all, we'll do Moonfall.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh,
It was just like on, you know, cable or whatever. So that's, sorry, who's in it? Just to make sure that I'm thinking about the right one.
yeah, okay, sure. It's currently on HBO. Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, okay. So yes, I did see it. I really second guessed
I
for a
just
second.
saw that too, but I already like forgot about it.
I have seen it twice already. But
my
it
Lord.
is, look, it's maybe not perfect. Roland Emmerich maybe didn't nail it this time, but it was very fun still. There's a lot going on. It was enjoyable.
I thought it was very fun.
I do like Patrick Wilson, but as the ex-astronaut that has fallen in hard times, love a story like that. And Halle Berry was great, solid. Who I really love is John Bradley.
Of course. I was waiting for you to, I'm like
Come
99%
on.
sure that's where you were going, but go on.
Yeah, he is great. I could have used more, but that's all right.
His theories and his relationship with his mother. I loved it.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, when you come into the meeting that he's having with, like, you know, his Superstructure Anonymous or whatever
Yes.
it is, that was so great. He's like, no, we don't have time. Not tonight. It was fantastic.
Oh, and also another one of my favorites, Michael Pena.
Oh, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Kind of a different, unique role for him, but
Because isn't he playing like the new husband?
like a billionaire new husband. But I mean, here's the deal. It definitely falls in that world of like, what? Some of the-
Well,
Come on.
He wasn't a billionaire. He just had some money.
Okay.
But yes, I did like that because at first you're like, oh, he's just an asshole or whatever. And then it turned out, oh, maybe he's not. And he
Right.
actually is going to help out. He maybe is not always going the right direction perfectly, but he is going to help. And then really it helps quite a bit by the end.
Right. I found it exactly kind of the way you put it. Like, it was fun. Like, it was just a fun, those like end of the world, but then they had both atmospheric and alien,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
all these elements of like, you know, how we're going to get taken down and this crazy theory of what the moon actually is. And then they have, you know, what's going on Earth. but then what's going on with the team that's trying to save us up there?
I mean, this is why I love 2012, but yes.
Yeah, I like where there's multiple things. They all got to work. They all got to come together for us to be saved. So, yeah, I mean, I think I was flipping channels and I'm like, what is it? I didn't know, honestly, sadly, if it was 10 years old. I was shocked to learn it was a movie from this year.
Well, the sad truth is, like, it kind of bombed at the box office, but it was like there's some sort of weird, like, lack of awareness, lack of the right messaging,
marketing.
It wasn't a bad movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, but it was like, well, it didn't quite deserve that.
I agree. I mean, I think for those type of movies, it was comparable to a lot of the things we've all been subjected to. So I think it was actually sort of fun. And I watched it, like I said, not knowing if it was a new movie or one that I just missed like 7 years ago.
All right. Well, so caught up on that one. The other thing I watched was Dog, which is on Amazon Prime, the Channing Tatum.
Oh, right.
Road and Dog movie.
I am interested to hear what you think about this because I feel like maybe the trailer, I was like not excited about it.
The trailer is an interesting example of like sort of the best moments and basically like, well, that is like a cherry pick of the plot. But on the other hand, when you experience it in the movie, you're like, okay, yeah, this filling it out is still fine. I didn't feel like, oh, well, I already knew everything or I already knew where exactly it was going to go. It's like, no, now I got it. It's great.
So is he a veteran and it's a service dog or what's going on in it?
He's a vet. He's actually trying to get back because he had a traumatic head injury and so can't be hired as a contractor or even just go back into the military. And then one of his like guys that he had served with, this was his dog. That was like a bomb sniffing dog or whatever. I can't remember exactly. But so it was a military dog. And, it was like, well, it was only nice for him. And now he's gone. And so we don't know what to do with this dog.
Oh. Are they on a road trip? What are they doing?
Yeah. So he's trying to take the dog from, whatever base it's at back to it's actually the guy's funeral.
Oh, that's kind of sad. I mean, was it moving? Am I going to cry on my treadmill? Is that what we're talking about?
I cannot predict that. I think the answer might be yes, which would be silly, but sure.
Which would be typical.
Look, who doesn't love Channing Tatum? It's super fun.
I mean,
it's
he's
fun.
great. Yeah. So it's nice to see him do like, I don't know, emotive work instead of dancing or I don't know.
I saw it and I thought of that W.C. Fields, which is, for those of you who don't know, an actor from before all of our lifetimes. It was a famous quote. They said, never work with children or animals. I was like, God, Channing, that is like your co-star for the entire movie is this dog. Like, good for you.
But also that can work out sometimes.
It looked like he had good chemistry.
Well, he's got some animal magnetism, apparently.
Oh, wow, John.
Shoot.
Okay.
Look, they don't call him Magic Mike for nothing. Anyway.
Is that a sausage in your pocket?
Okay, wow.
No, but it's really enjoyable. If you get a chance, feel free. It's on Amazon Prime at the moment. Another one from this year that I look, this is, I don't even know why I did this to myself the first time. You want to go see a movie. There's, my problem is more like I've seen everything else or the couple that I haven't seen, I'm like waiting for somebody else. What am I going to do? I'll see Escape Room. So now I was like, I guess I'm going to watch Escape Room.
What?
too.
What? Oh.
Whoa.
Well, look, I think it doesn't quite fall on it skirts pure horror, but it's not quite that. So it's a little bit more of the suspense, which I can handle.
All right.
And look, it's enjoyable. They're trying to figure it out.
So this is Escape Room 2?
Yes, Tournament of Champions.
Tournament of Champions. Are there crossover characters or is it complete standalone? What's the deal?
Well, there's two obvious crossover characters, Taylor Russell and Logan Miller, that are from the first one that they got out. Only one was supposed to survive, but, she saved him, so they both survived.
Oh, nice. And now they're in another terrible situation?
Well, look, this evil corporation keeps on getting you. And they were like, they unfortunately were trying to, expose them. And of course, just fell into their trap.
Oof.
And it was weird because, I didn't overly watch the preview or anything, but you're like, you get this, Tournament of Champions. You're like, well, it seems like return players. And they really waited it out to no, all these people that are now trapped have already done this before.
That's very Hunger Games. Wasn't that the second Hunger Games or the third or the fifth or I don't know, one of the Hunger Games? It was like, bring back everybody who survived.
Oh, that was really diabolical. That was
that's the thing,
Tournament of Champions.
Yeah, Katniss escaped. These other people escaped. We still want to kill them.
Yeah.
So let's still try to kill them.
They really wanted to kill her.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's whatever. It's I It's interesting compared to the first one. I don't know. For some reason, it felt like different or shorter or like, I don't know, but it was still enjoyable.
And you saw this in the theater?
No, I did not. These are the catch-ups, not in the theater.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's on Starz.
It's on Starz. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was saying the first one I saw in the theater. This one
got
I
it.
happened to miss, like these other two, and so I caught it just at home, and it was still acceptable.
I mean, look, I'm a big fan of Caught It at Home way after.
That's your main move. So, all right, that is Escape Room Tournament of Champions. So now the last one was in the theaters, and it is a recent movie, Babylon.
Babylon. Oh, wow. A feast for the eyes is what they're saying.
It's true. It's maybe multiple feasts for the eyes, which is the problem.
Why? Is it super long?
It's a 3 hour. There's a lot of 3 hours that hang out.
What's happening?
It's crazy. So there are parts of it that are good, for sure.
I planned to see it until I heard similar reviews to the direction you're going in.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, it's not amazing. There are parts that are really good. I mean, Margot's obviously incredibly talented.
I heard her hair choice was distracting, though.
Yeah,
her hair choice was distracting?
Hairstyle.
Yeah, it's bad.
Oh, interesting.
And look, and it's not her fault exactly, but it's like, the story of your character is either not there or not being served, or she was one of the main problems in a way, her storyline. No. Look, she's
always solid. So
I know, she's so good. I love her. I hate to hear that she, that it was a swing and a miss for different reasons.
Yeah, it's challenging. Unfortunately, Brad Pitt, his storyline, a little cleaner, a little better, definitely kind of worked. Unfortunately, that is not the thrust of the whole movie, so it doesn't save the movie.
Yeah.
Then you have another character that's somewhat in between them and then goes on to his own thing. I hadn't seen him before, but Diego Calva. He's great. His story is very interesting. It's somewhat of seemingly what Damien is trying to do with this movie.
Right.
But it doesn't quite play out that way. So it becomes a little, you're not seeing what you're supposed to, I think. So whatever, his story is fine, but we're also not really focusing on it, so that doesn't help. And then lastly is just the overall love of movies, which is like, wow, you really didn't tell that story, but all right.
In 3 hours, you still didn't actually get to your point. Okay, great.
I mean, yeah, and then even at the end, really tried to button it, and it was like, this is not a button. This is just like whipped cream that means nothing.
Oh no.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I heard from quite a few people. So I thought 3 hours in the movie theater, no.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's tough. You heard the mixed reviews. I still was excited about it, and it's whatever. It was worth it, I guess. It was fine. Look, I love you, Damien. Keep doing it. Just don't do this.
All right. Okay, is that it, do we think?
Jeez.
That's all I got.
I mean,
for
okay.
right now.
So
Yeah.
just as a recap, let's remind everybody what we saw / what we crossed over on. So I watched Treason, and so did Liz, on Netflix. I recently watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. Ooh, nailed it. Did you hear that? It was a little stumbly, but I did get it. That is on Showtime, I believe, currently. And
Highly recommend it, yeah.
And then I think Hulu, if you have a premium, whatever, you can watch it there too. And then also, John and I watched Slow Horses Season 2 with Eric. That was very fun. And that is on Apple TV. And last from me was the movie The Swimmers, and that is on Netflix. So good. Okay, so that's it for me. Liz?
So on Hulu, welcome to Chippendales. Like I said, it's a very fascinating
I am super interested.
story on Hulu. And on Netflix, crossed over with a few shows you were watching, and then also watch the Tollywood Feast for the Eyes and Ears, RRR. On Netflix.
Okay.
All right, so I watched Moonfall on HBO.
Yeah, which apparently so did we.
Yep.
Dog on Amazon Prime. Escape Room Tournament of Champions on Starz. And Babylon in the theaters.
Wow, busy. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for listening to What We Are Watching. And please follow us on all of our social media at Podcast Watching. And thank you for listening to
What We Are Watching.